I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing this kind of story, but here I am. My name's Mike, and honestly, I'm just trying to get this off my chest because I don't have anyone else to talk to about it. My marriage with Emily was supposed to be solid. We'd been together for nearly 8 years. She's always been a bit of a bitch, honestly. Bossy, manipulative, good at lying. And I guess I was blind to it for a long time. But I loved her and I thought she loved me, or at least that's what I convinced myself. Things started feeling off maybe 6 months ago. She became distant, always busy with her phone, hiding her screen when I walked into the room. She'd snap at me for no reason, call me paranoid whenever I'd ask what was wrong. We had a pretty quiet life, work, occasional date nights, some trips, but I started noticing small things. Her phone was always unlocked, she'd delete messages, and her attitude was getting bitchier by the day. Then came the funeral. My grandmother passed away suddenly, and it hit me hard. You'd think that during a time when I was grieving so deeply, Emily would be supportive or at least show some compassion. But she didn't. She was cold, distant, even a little bitchy about the arrangements. And that's when I first started to notice her phone buzzing nonstop, texts, calls I didn't know. She was acting weirdly, like she was hiding something. I remember catching her sneaking her phone into her purse whenever I looked her way, and that feeling of unease just grew. The funeral was brutal. I was trying to hold it together, but inside I felt broken. I thought maybe she's just stressed or maybe she doesn't handle grief well. But I also kept catching her looking at her phone with this sly little smile like she was up to something. I told myself I was paranoid, but deep down I knew something was wrong. I felt it in my gut, that gnawing suspicion that she was hiding something. One night, about a week after the funeral, I decided to check her phone. Not in some creepy way, more like I was trying to find her texts, her messages, anything that would explain her coldness and her strange behavior. I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I was desperate for answers. I found her phone sitting on the kitchen counter unlocked and I just couldn't resist. I needed to see if my instincts were right. What I saw broke me. There were dozens of texts between her and my best friend Jake. Not just friendly, casual messages either. Flirty, suggestive stuff about where they could meet, how they'd hide it, how much they missed each other. My heart sank and I couldn't breathe. I didn't even know how long this had been going on. All I kept thinking about was how she had been lying to my face, how she'd been cheating on me during the funeral of all times. It was like a punch in the gut, a betrayal that cut so deep I couldn't even process it all at once. I stared at the screen, reading their texts over and over. How could she be so bitchy, so manipulative? How could she lie so easily? And with my best friend, no less. I've known Jake since college and we've always been close. And now I found out he was just another piece of shit who betrayed me. I felt sick. I felt angry. I felt broken. The worst part, I didn't even want to confront her yet. I just wanted to understand if I'd been blind this entire time or if I'd just ignored the signs. But I knew, deep down, this was a betrayal that would change everything forever. I couldn't believe what I'd just seen. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of it all. I sat there, trembling, holding her phone in my hand like it was a bomb about to go off. How could she do this? During my grandmother's funeral, when I was vulnerable and grieving, she was out there sneaking around behind my back with Jake. It wasn't just a fling or some stupid mistake. She'd been planning it, hiding it, lying to my face every damn day. I wanted to yell, to scream, to break something. But I also knew I had to keep my cool. So I took a deep breath, put her phone back on the counter, and just sat there in total shock. My stomach was in knots, my mind swirling with questions and anger. I kept asking myself, how long has this been going on? How did I not see it? Was I blind? Or just too damn trusting? That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything I'd seen, every little sign I'd ignored. The coldness, the secretive texts, her bitchy attitude, none of it was coincidence. It was all part of her game. I started feeling this intense mix of betrayal and heartbreak. I'd trusted her with my soul and she'd used that trust to cheat. I kept thinking about the time she told me she loved me, how she'd said she'd never do anything to hurt me. All bullshit. The next morning I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't let her get away with this, not without answers. I waited until she woke up, then I sat her down in the living room. I told her I knew everything. Her face turned white, her bitchy smirk faltered for a second, and she tried to deny it. Big surprise. She said I was imagining things, that I was paranoid, that I was overreacting because I was grieving. But I cut her off. I told her I saw the messages, the texts, everything. I told her I knew she'd been sleeping with Jake the entire time. She looked stunned for a moment, then her face twisted into that classic bitchy sneer. "Oh, please, Mike, you're so dramatic. You're just jealous because I'm tired of your asterisk-ing bullshit." That was her answer. She lied, of course. She said Jake was just a friend, that I was overthinking it, that I was crazy for even suspecting her. I looked at her and realized how much she lied, how she thought she could just brush it off. She's always been good at lying, but this was next level. I felt my blood boil. I wanted to grab her by the hair and shake her until she told the truth. Instead, I told her to leave. I told her I didn't want to see her face again, that she'd broken me in ways I never thought possible. But inside, I was a mess. I was furious, heartbroken, humiliated. My wife, the woman I loved, cheated on me with my best friend during my grandmother's funeral. It was like the worst nightmare come true. I honestly didn't even feel anger at Jake, just a deep, bitter disappointment. The fact that they did this behind my back, during a time I was supposed to be mourning, made it all worse. I wanted to confront her right then and there, to tear her apart, but I also knew I needed time to think, to process. I was walking around in a daze, feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. I kept asking myself, how did I miss the signs? Why didn't I see this coming? How could I have been so blind? And then I remembered all the times she snapped at me for asking questions, for trying to understand her mood. She'd always been bitchy, manipulative. I guess I just didn't want to see it. I thought maybe I was the problem, maybe I'd done something wrong. But now all I could see was her lies and her betrayal. That day, I felt like I lost my entire world. And what hurt the most? The fact that she had the nerve to pretend everything was fine, to lie and fake her way through our life together, knowing damn well she was messing around with my best friend. It's like she didn't care about me at all. I felt like a fool for trusting her. Trust was gone now, shattered in a million pieces, and I had no idea how to put it back together. After she left that morning, I didn't know what to do with myself. I just sat there, staring at the empty space where she'd been. My mind was a tornado of betrayal, images of her smiling, texting Jake, acting like everything was normal while I was falling apart inside. I felt sick. Honestly, I wanted to scream, to break something, but instead I just clenched my fists and tried to breathe. I spent the next couple of days in complete shock. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, that smug look she gave me when she lied. I kept replaying the moments I missed, the signs I ignored, and wonder how I'd been so blind. I felt a crushing sense of failure as a husband, failure as a man who couldn't even see what was happening right under his nose. But I also knew I couldn't just sit around forever. I had to decide what to do next. Do I forgive her? Do I try to work things out? Or do I cut ties and move on? Honestly, part of me wanted to call her and yell, to demand answers, but I knew that wouldn't get me anywhere. She'd just lie again, probably accuse me of being crazy. That's what she did. She lied so effortlessly, like she enjoyed twisting everything to her advantage. One night, I finally decided I needed to take control of the situation. I remembered that I'd found her messages on her phone, so I started digging deeper. I wanted evidence, proof, something I could hold onto. I went through her emails, her social media, her messages on other platforms. I needed to know exactly how long this had been going on, how many times they'd seen each other, what she'd lied about. It was a painful process, scrolling through those messages, but I had to be sure. What I discovered was even worse than I thought. There were messages from as far back as 6 months ago, before the funeral even. They'd been sneaking around for a while, hiding their affair behind my back while I was trying to be there for my family, grieving my grandmother. They'd even talked about how much they hated how I was so clingy and boring. It was sickening. I felt like I'd been living a lie all along, and now I had the receipts to prove it. The more I uncovered, the more furious I became. I started to see a pattern, how Emily was always bitchy, quick to snap, dismissive of my feelings, and then suddenly she'd be all sweet and fake around Jake. It was like she had two faces. One moment she was the loving wife I thought I knew, and the next, she was this manipulative, cheating bitch. And Jake, my best friend, was right there with her, playing his part in her twisted game. I thought I knew him, but now I wasn't so sure. How could someone I trusted so much turn into a liar and a cheat? That's when I started feeling that familiar, raging anger. Not just at her, but at Jake, too. How could they do this to me? To us? During a time when I was most vulnerable, they'd been out there, sneaking around, screwing each other, probably laughing behind my back. It wasn't just cheating, it was a betrayal of everything I believed in. I had given her everything, my love, my trust, my life, and she threw it all away for a quick fuck with my best friend. I knew I had to confront her again. I couldn't let this slide. I wanted her to see how much she'd hurt me, how utterly she destroyed what little trust I had left. I was furious, yes, but also deeply hurt. I felt a mixture of rage, sadness, and disappointment all at once. I had loved her so much, and now I was just left with this empty shell of what once was. My mind kept circling back to that funeral, the worst day of my life, and how she'd been out there, screwing around behind my back while I was mourning my grandmother. It was the ultimate betrayal, the kind that leaves a scar that never really heals. The moment I decided to confront her again, I knew I had to be calm, but inside I was anything but. I waited until she was back home, knowing she'd try to play the victim, lie her way out of it like she always did. I didn't want to give her that satisfaction. When she walked in, she was acting all innocent, like she had no idea what I was going to say. That fake, bitchy smile of hers made me want to vomit. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her I knew everything, the texts, the affair, the lies. Her face flickered with that familiar sneer, and she quickly started spinning her bullshit. "Oh, Mike, you're so paranoid. You're always accusing me of stuff that's not even there. You're just upset about the funeral, you're taking it out on me." That was her first line, like she always did, deny, deny, deny. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I pulled out my phone and showed her the evidence. I scrolled through the messages, the photos, the timestamps. I told her I knew she'd been sleeping with Jake for months, that she'd been lying to me every single day. Her eyes widened for a split second, then she scoffed and rolled her eyes. "You're crazy, Mike. You've always been jealous and insecure. It's just sex, I swear. It doesn't mean anything." That made my blood boil. Sex doesn't mean anything. That's her favorite bullshit line. Because to her, lying, cheating, sneaking around, those are just things that happen, right? She kept insisting that it was just sex, that Jake was a friend and I was overreacting. But I knew better. I knew this was a betrayal of all the promises she'd ever made to me, every vow we took. How could she be so callous, so bitchy and manipulative? I wanted to tear her apart, but I held back. I told her she could leave, that I didn't want to see her anymore. I said I was done trusting her lies, her fake tears, her "I love you" bullshit. She just shrugged and said she was tired of my accusations, that I was crazy and jealous, and that I needed to get help. That's when I realized the extent of her narcissism. She truly believed she could just lie her way out of everything, that she could walk all over me and I'd still take her back. But I wasn't going to fall for it anymore. She packed a bag and left that night, still trying to spin her stories, still acting like the innocent victim. But I didn't care. I felt empty and broken, but also a strange sense of relief. I finally saw her for what she really was, a manipulative, cheating bitch who didn't care about me at all. And Jake? Yeah, I'd eventually deal with him too. Right now I was just trying to breathe, trying to process how someone I loved could betray me so completely. That night I stayed up all night. I kept staring at the ceiling, replaying everything, trying to understand how I got here. The pain was intense, but so was the clarity. I realized I'd wasted so much time trying to fix something that was already broken. My trust, my marriage, my friendship, all shattered. I felt sick, but also a tiny bit relieved that I finally knew the truth. That lie was finally out in the open, and I didn't have to pretend anymore. I knew I had to decide what to do next, but for now, I just wanted the pain to stop, even if it meant starting from scratch. The days that followed were a blur of emotion, anger, sadness, disbelief, and a strange sense of numbness. I didn't even bother to hide the fact that I was hurt, and honestly, I didn't care anymore about hiding my feelings. Every time I thought about Emily and Jake together, I felt this intense burn in my chest, like someone had grabbed my heart and squeezed. It was worse during the quiet moments when I was alone with my thoughts, replaying everything I'd uncovered, realizing how completely I'd been played. I decided I needed to get some space, to think clearly and figure out what I really wanted. I moved out of the house, stayed with a friend for a few days, and just let myself feel everything. It was brutal, especially when memories of the good times started flooding back. The long conversations, the laughter, her bitchy attitude, how she'd always act like she was better than everyone else. I kept telling myself I deserved better than someone who could cheat on me during the funeral of my grandmother, who was like a second mother to me. But even with all that pain, I knew I couldn't ignore the fact that I still loved her. Or at least, I loved the idea of what we had. That's what hurt the most, realizing she never loved me the way I loved her. She was just using me, playing her game, and I was too blind to see it. I also felt betrayed by Jake, my best friend, the guy I'd trusted with everything. How could he do this? How could he betray me like that, knowing how much she meant? To me, it was hard to process. One night I sat down and started writing a letter, not to send, just to get my thoughts out. I poured everything onto paper. I told her how much she'd hurt me, how I felt like I'd lost my trust in the world. I didn't hold back. I told her that I hated her for what she did, that she was manipulative and selfish, and that she threw away 8 years of love for what was probably just a quick fuck. I also told her I'd never forgive her, at least not anytime soon. That letter was my way of trying to make sense of everything, even if she'd never read it. Looking back, I realize I spent a lot of time blaming myself, wondering if I'd somehow caused this. But after a while, I understood that it wasn't my fault. She chose to cheat, to lie, to manipulate. Jake chose to betray our friendship. I didn't ask for any of this, and I refused to carry the guilt of their actions. I've come to accept that I deserve better, that I shouldn't have to put up with someone who treats me like an option, who sneaks around during my worst moments and then lies to my face. So now I'm at a crossroads. Part of me still hopes for some miracle, that she'll come back and admit everything, that she'll realize she was wrong. But I know deep down that's unlikely. The other part knows I have to move on, start healing, and rebuild my life without her. It's not easy. I feel broken in so many ways, like I lost a piece of myself. But I also know that I'm stronger than I thought. I've learned a hard lesson about trust, betrayal, and what it really means to love someone. This whole experience has changed me forever. I can't look at her the same way, and I don't think I ever will. But I'm trying to focus on myself now, to rebuild what I've lost and find a way to be happy again. I don't have all the answers, but one thing I do know: I won't let anyone treat me like that again. Next time, I'll be more careful about who I trust. Because no one should have that power over me, especially not a bitchy wife and a cheating best friend. Looking back, I realized that this whole ordeal was a turning point for me. It's like I had to hit rock bottom to understand what I truly deserve. Honestly, walking away from everything, her, Jake, the life I thought we had, felt like losing a part of myself at first. But now, I see it as the only way I could finally breathe again. The trust I once had in people, in love, has been shattered, but that's allowed me to rebuild from the ground up and be more careful about who I let into my life. I've learned a lot from this experience, about betrayal, about the importance of listening to my instincts, and about the fact that some people, no matter how much you love them, will betray you in the worst ways. Emily's bitchy, manipulative nature was always there, but I was too blind or too afraid to see it. Now I know that I shouldn't ignore the red flags, no matter how much I want things to work out. Trust is a fragile thing, and once it's broken, it's incredibly hard to fix. As for Jake, I've come to accept that some friendships are conditional. They're based on mutual respect, not just convenience or shared secrets. I don't hate him, but I don't trust him anymore either. He's part of the wreckage I have to leave behind. The pain I feel isn't just about her cheating on me. It's about discovering that the people I thought I knew turned out to be so different, so selfish. I've started focusing on myself. I've gone back to therapy, started working out again, and just trying to find some peace. It's not easy, and I still get angry sometimes, especially when I think about how she lied to my face and betrayed me at my most vulnerable. But I also understand that I have to forgive myself first, for trusting too much, for loving someone who didn't deserve it. No one is perfect, but I refuse to be a victim anymore. The biggest lesson I've learned is that I am enough. I don't need someone who manipulates and cheats to feel complete. I don't need fake friends who stab me in the back. Life goes on, and I have to decide what kind of person I want to be moving forward. I want to be stronger, wiser, and more cautious. I want to surround myself with people who genuinely care, who respect me and my feelings. So here I am, telling this story not for sympathy but to remind myself, and maybe someone else out there, that even after the deepest betrayals, healing is possible. Trust is precious, and once it's broken, it can take a long time to mend. But in the end, I believe that if you stay true to yourself and don't settle for bullshit, you'll come out stronger on the other side. I still have scars, but I also have hope. And that's more than enough to keep moving forward.